Hi, this is Mr. Nazarian. Our lesson objective today is I can multiply multi-digit numbers using the area model. It's 5th grade standard, numbers base 10, B5. Alright, so let's say that we're going to multiply two multi-digit numbers, meaning numbers that have more than one single digit, right? So we have 314 times 68 in this example. So using the area model means, and we're going to learn many different strategies in multiplication as well as every other way in math, because there's not one right way to solve a problem, but many different right ways. So it's about exploring and looking at different strategies so everyone can find the one that works best for them. So this strategy that we're going to use for multiplying these two numbers is called the area model. It's also called a distributive model that we're going to be using. A lot of times I'll say something like think inside the box. So anyway, whatever you want to call it, most often you'll hear the area model. So to do the area model, we're going to make a box. So we're going to make a rectangle. I'm just going to real quick make one like this. And then we're going to divide that rectangle up into parts of however many digits we have. So because this is longer here and not quite as tall here, I'm going to do 314 on top. So there are 3 digits for 314, so I'm going to divide this up into 3 parts. And I'm going to write 314 is made up of 300, and so that's the hundreds place, right? This is the tens place. We've got 1, so 1 in the tens place is worth 10, correct? And then 4 in the ones place. So 314 is made up of 300 and 10 and 4. You add them all together and you have 314, right? Over here on the left side, I'm going to represent 68, and 68 has 2 digits, right? So I'm just going to chop this into 2 parts here, right? 1, 2. And then I'm going to, 68 is made up of, we have 6 in the tens place, which is 60, and 8 in the ones place, which is 8. 60 and 8 is the same as 68. All right, so now instead of trying to find the area of this whole thing, 314 times 68, I'm going to do them just in pieces. And a lot of times in math, we'll find that's a good strategy is instead of trying to tackle a big problem, we'll break that big problem into smaller pieces that are more manageable and easy to do. It's like you don't want to eat a whole pizza in one bite, right? You end up choking, just in small pieces. So we are first going to tackle this. Well, actually, you know what? Let's tackle the ones one here. So the ones place. So right here, what we're doing is we're going to basically line these up, right? So here, I'll erase this later, but so it's where these two numbers meet. So this 8 and this 4 meet right here in this box. You can see, right? This is where they collide. So we're going to do 8 times 4 and put that product in this box. So 8 times 4 is what? Do you know? It's 32. Okay. So, and that's something that in order to be successful in multiplying multi-digit numbers, you first need to know your math facts. So that means knowing all your, basically up to 12 times 12. So we've got that part. So what that tells us is the area of this part of the big rectangle is 32. Then let's go over here. So where the 8 and the 10 meet is this section right here. 8 times 10 would give us 80. Okay. And then here, 8 times 300. Now you might say, well, that's kind of hard. I'm not really sure. I can show you a little trick here. If you do, now we've got zeros here, right? 0 and 0 when we're using this method, right? Because we're just looking at the 300 of the 314. So I'm going to ignore these zeros just for a minute. And I'm going to say, what's 3 times 8? Well, that's not so hard now. Now I know that 3 times 8, because I know my math facts, equals 24, right? But I'm not multiplying 8 times 3. I can't ignore these forever. I'm really multiplying 8 times 300. So 300 is 100 times more than 3, right? So if the product was 24 when I thought that the factor was 3, it means that the product's going to be 100 times more than 24. So 100 more than 24 is 2400 or 2400. Okay. You might also notice that all I did was I multiplied the 8 times 3. I ignored those zeros for a minute. And then when I had to come back to reality, I added those 2 zeros to my product, right? So now that means that this area of this section is 2400 or 2400. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to ignore this 0 here. I'm going to ignore these zeros here and say, what's just 6 times 3? Well, just 6 times 3, that's not so hard. That's 18, right? But it's not just 6 times 3. It's really 60 times 300. So that means that this factor, it's actually 10 times more than 6. And this factor, it's 100 times more than 3, right? So that means we have to multiply it by 100 and then times 10, which is, you know what 100 times 10 is? Or 10 times 100? It's 1,000. So that means 18 times 1,000, which would be 18,000. Guess how many zeros I had to add to make it 18,000? 3. How many zeros did I start off with ignoring there when I first multiplied the 6 times 3? 1, 2, 3. So there were 3 zeros that I kind of set aside, and then I just put those 3 zeros back here again. So instead of 18, it's 18,000 in this section of the box. 10 times 60 is going to give us, anytime that you multiply by 10, it's like you're just putting another 0 right here, right? And we'll talk more about that later, because we're not really just adding a 0, because adding a 0 gives you no additional value, right? But as far as when you're looking at this number here, we're putting another 0 in here. Really what we're doing is we're moving this existing 6 and 0 here. We're moving them over to the left one place value, which means, remember, from what we talked about with place value, it means that you're multiplying it by 10, right? Every time that you move over one place value, it gets 10 times larger. Okay, and then 4 times 6 is 24. And also, we're really multiplying by 60, so you have to put that additional 0 here. So 240. Now, what this tells us is each of these sections, it tells us the value of each of these sections. But we want to know what the value is of the area of this whole thing, of all 314 times 68, the whole thing, which means we have to add all these parts. So we do, oh gosh. Okay, I'll just do it small here. We're going to do 18,000. See how fast I can do this. Plus, we're going to add them all up. Plus 600. Plus 240. Plus 2,400. It's really, really important that you line up the digits in the same place value where they're supposed to go. Plus 80. Plus 32. Okay? And so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2. 0, 0, 4 plus 0 plus 8 is 12, plus another 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Carry the 1. I'm going to put these together first. 8 and 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1 and 2. So that means we have a grand total here of 21,352. So 314 times 68 equals 21,352. And we will work more with multiplying using the area model tomorrow. See you then.